Live here tonight on Facebook, and we're live on YouTube again. So if you're joining us out there in YouTube land, we want to welcome you back to ASN. We haven't gone anywhere. We've just been on Facebook for the last few weeks. Facebook.com/ASN iRacing. So if you've missed any of the action and you want to catch up on it, well, that's a great place to go and do that. If you haven't missed any of the action and you're watching on Facebook tonight, well, we want to welcome you to the stream as always, and we hope you're enjoying your evening, you're enjoying your COVID-19 quarantine and all that entails. I'm Matt Egan, joined by Jacob Young, currently watching David Sintini with about 5 minutes left in qualifying. Well, Jacob, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to watching some truck racing. I know it's been a while since we've gotten to watch it, but of course, 2 weeks off, never a bad thing. Just gets you more and more excited for a race here, and trucks at Kansas, it couldn't be any better than that.
Yeah, that is for sure. Great track and great racing. 100 laps in the tables for tonight, so not that long of a race, but enough for these guys to kind of stretch their legs and get some good racing in. I think we're going to get some great racing. We've got some great drivers up at the front of the field. Look at Aaron Smith, second on the speed charts. Man, this guy's been clamoring for a win all season, and I think tonight might very well just be the night that he can get that done. What do you think?
Exactly. I think you're definitely right on that, considering how close the table is with the times. And yeah, you look at who's also on pole. That's Peyton Howell. So yeah, the top three drivers basically, yeah, we don't necessarily see them up in, well, Matthew T. Lee, I take that back. We only see him up front. But yeah, looking forward to watching Aaron Smith. I know he has to focus on that long run game, make sure that he's there in the end. If not, yes, of course, he always has speed at the start of the races, but the main thing is you got to close it out.
Yeah, that is for sure. Being there at the end is the important thing. Austin going a little bit further back right now, 23rd on the speed charts. But hey, you know, starting at the back of the field here at Kansas, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can make your way up through the field. It's a little bit harder to do here at Kansas, just because it's a little bit of a difficult racetrack to pass at. Wouldn't you agree?
It definitely is, and it's interesting too because you talked about it a bit, and it's for the cup cars, they go on the wall. That's basically the fastest lines around here. Well, for the trucks, they're a little better on the inside line, especially that it is nighttime here too. So that's going to be interesting. Drivers will be a little faster on the inside line, and they won't necessarily have to pick their lanes and hope that they have a fast truck. Now it's going to be very close racing, and a little bit of drafting, especially down the straightaway and the back straight, is going to help you. It's not going to be like Daytona, but it definitely will help you in that mean. If you don't necessarily have that speed, that draft a little bit, it's going to be very difficult to catch the pack and even catch the front.
Well, one big problem that's going to happen, I don't know how bad it's going to be during the nighttime, but I've ran some of these, C-fixed races at Kansas, and these tires, I tell you what, Jacob, they burn off fast, and you don't notice it until it's already too late. You can burn them off in about 5 laps, and you won't notice it until lap 6, and by lap 6, well, there's nothing you can do except just try to manage what you've, turned that race truck into. Now with 2 minutes left, watching Kenneth McCulloch Jr., so I don't know how well that's going to, be in the nighttime. It might be a little bit better because you got a little bit of a cooler racetrack, a little bit better atmosphere to race under. But I think that's going to be a big factor here tonight is tire wear.
That definitely will be. And just kind of give you touched on it, obviously, of course, a cooler racetrack. To kind of give you an idea, it's 85 degrees Fahrenheit tonight on this racetrack. When I did the NIS races and when we broadcasted Saturday's race, it was about 100, close to about 120 to even 115 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the racetrack. So it is much cooler, and that's going to help these drivers out tremendously. Now, just like you said, though, they will have to keep They will just have to make sure that they can at least stretch their tire wear to at least lap 10 before it really starts to go off.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here as this race plays out. Of course, Kenneth McCulloch Jr., great lap time. How about that? 3rd place for the 03 True Timber machine. He's had a little bit of an up and down season these last few weeks, but right now, looking up with about 43 seconds left. He'll start, really well. Only 30 drivers on track this week. And you know what I'm looking forward to, Jacob, for next week is the new Ford F-150 truck. I wonder how many drivers we're going to get out here sporting that machine.
Exactly, because you talk about it even in real life, it's not necessarily not developed, but necessarily not a lot of drivers use it. You only have about Matt Crafton and a couple of other drivers who use that Ford F-150. And I think for sure we'll get a lot of drivers that are using the Toyota to decide to use that Ford F-150 for sure, because in my opinion, they're kind of alike and they're very fun to drive. It's going to be interesting, but we've had champions in real life too use that truck. So, I mean, it's going to be a fast truck and there's almost no reason not to. Of course, you already have 2 trucks, but getting that Ford is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that is for sure. And here we go. Drivers starting to take to the grid here at Kansas. Peyton Howell will be row 1 to his outside. None other than Aaron Smith. And like I said, a great run for Aaron Smith. We've been seeing a lot of speed out of that 70 truck, Jacob, in these last few races. I tell you what, again, he hasn't quite gotten it done for the win. He hasn't quite been there at the end, but we've seen it get faster and faster for him. Maybe tonight is the night he can get that done. Kenneth McCulloch Jr., another great qualifying run, but he's going to have to start next to Matthew Lee. And what's the one thing about Matthew Lee we know is that the man can win and he is fast. So if anyone's going to bet for a driver to win this race, place your bet on that number 04 machine. Derek Fulton, David Santini. Santini's been pretty good too. Row number 3, not too far back of the front. Brad Bothwell, Hayes Booth, Eli Warren, and Jake Hunchell. Todd Keene, Scott Glasgow, Marty Porter. Marty Porter had a few good runs in the last few races. Definitely has some fans out there. Wouldn't be surprised to see him towards the front of the field. Christopher McKeaton, Chris Robertson, and Mike Bryant, Jesse Thornock, and Josh Peak. Jason Hunchell, Jose Medina, Chad Ross, Jim Westerfield, Austin Goen, Robert Vermwald, and Joe Angelone, Mike Pachica, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Jay Dargent, Travis Tweedy, David Lindahl, and Jeffrey Radtake round out your field. Only 15 rows deep, and yes, I do say only 15 rows deep because we are used to seeing fields of 43 trucks taking these fields. A little bit smaller, but hey, the good thing for that is any driver that attempted to qualify here tonight, Jacob, they got in.
Yeah, exactly. That is the great part about it. Able to qualify, which is perfect for these drivers. And you touched on it too. Look at how many drivers are in the standings for this league. It's about close to 60 or so drivers in the standings, and every driver would be trying to get in here. Of course, May is a little bit different, especially in the summer months, as of course school's out and all of that stuff. But no, really, it's just going to be exciting. And even with the 30 truck field, that's where you can have the best action possible. Yes, 43 cars, 43 trucks is perfect, but at the same time, you get a little bit smaller. Drivers start to be a little bit more aggressive too.
Yeah, that's true. We might see a little bit more aggressive racing early on, but we'll just see what happens here. I tell you what, though, this is going to be a fantastic start. I mean, for that matter, it always is a great start, you know. Pace car down, and here we go. Green flag in the air. We're racing from Kansas. How about that? A great start for that 46 team. That's Peyton Howell, and I tell you what, man, Peyton Howell, fast driver. This is, I think, the first pole he's had this season. We'll double check that real quick. But definitely a good start for him to potentially lead this first lap. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. He's got to hold off Aaron Smith, though, and Aaron Smith will get a great run off of 4, but it is not going to be enough, as Peyton Howell, of course, does lead lap 1. And yes, this was his first pole position tonight in 11 starts in the 2020 season. His best finish, well, that came at Texas, Jacob. That was a 4th place finish. You think he bests that here tonight?
It's a 1.5 mile racetrack, too, which is totally different than Texas, in my opinion. And what I mean by that basically is, well, this track is a lot like Las Vegas compared to Texas being a lot like Atlanta, too. So, yeah, he could definitely best this finish. Like you said, he has to make sure about the tire, whereas he decides to go on the outside line, and that's going to cost him for at least this race lead. But a lot of drivers decide to go up, so he's going to have that help down the back straight.
Yeah, and, you know, the one problem is going to be, though, is can he win the race? Now, not a lot of drivers have won from the pole. The only driver off the top of my head that I can think of, David Santini did it. He did it back at Auto Club Raceway. And other than that, I really don't think we've had any other driver do that. I mean,
exactly.
Matthew Lee might have, and the reason I say Matthew Lee might have was because he has had 8 wins this season. So it's hard to discount rather, I think 5 wins this season. No, 7. He's had 7 wins. But yeah, he's had 7 wins this season, so he might have had 1. But it's very hard to win from the pole position. But I'm not going to say Peyton Howell can't do it.
Yeah, definitely Peyton Howell can't definitely win from the pole. It is very difficult, and I think we haven't necessarily touched on it too much, is that it is because of the draft. And it just helps if you're right behind a truck, especially on those late race cautions. That's where we have a lot of the lead changes and strategies and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily help your race leader or even, of course, the pole sitter when we know that they have a lot of pace throughout the race. But the only difference is they just get overtaken because they are a sitting duck when it comes down to drafting.
Yeah, that is very true. And look at this for the race lead right now. They're battling like it's 1 to go. And they are side by side right now on your outside line. It is Matthew Lee. He had that lap led. Not by much, though. And I think, like you said, that bottom line is the fast line, can be the fast line for these trucks. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Peyton Howell take that lead back. But he's got a lot of stiff competition behind him. You see Aaron Smith. I see David Santini just kind of waiting in the wings back there. So he's got some good competition sitting back there.
Definitely does indeed. Because, yeah, he's really the odd, well, was the odd truck out for a minute there, but now it's Aaron Smith, where he's just picking that outside line, and then same deal with Peyton Howell deciding to follow him. He's going to get passed by the 99 truck of David Santini, at least for the time being. We'll see if he's able to make it stick. But now everybody ventures back to the high line.
Yeah, Santini's got some speed on the bottom line of this racetrack right now, and looks like that 99 wants to get to the lead, and I think he will right now, Jacob, but he's got to get by Peyton Howell still, and, you know, it's early in the race, but I don't think Peyton Howell wants to give up that spot, because he gives up that spot, he might lose the spot to Aaron Smith. It's all a matter of just hold your ground right now, and I know I'm talking like we got 5 laps to go, but still, early on, you don't, you know, you kind of do want to show what you have, so you know, you don't want to, you want to know what you have is what I should say. So you know how you can compete.
Exactly, and it's all about track position. I think that's kind of been the case to Charlotte. I think a couple of drivers said that exact same thing, that you just needed the track position at the end of the race to have an opportunity to win, to be there in the end to win the race too. So yeah, that's kind of been this type of season, and it accounts for a lot of fun racing, but it's stressful for these drivers.
Yeah, looking at it from the blimp cam right now, and this is a pretty cool angle, as we can see an aerial view of David Santini trying to get by Peyton Howell. Peyton Howell rocketing off of turn number 4. That bottom line was quick for Santini through the middle of the corner, Jacob, but right off of turn number 4, you saw Peyton Howell it looked like he had a burst of speed from that truck, and that's where the middle to high line won't fade away, I don't think, at least not till later on into the night when it gets really worn in and rubbered in. But right now, looks like if you want to go fast through the corner, you're going to want to be on the bottom, but just for that great launch off, you want to be in that middle high line. Aaron Smith doing the exact same thing to get by David Santini as well. That 99 truck slowly, but going to start fading back now.
Exactly, and you can tell he's starting to use that middle line even through turns 1 and 2, and he stayed through that middle line trying, of course, to do exactly just like you said. He's able to get a little bit of a boost off, and now right back to Aaron Smith. The only problem is, I think we've touched on it a lot, he's just not in line. He doesn't have that help like the 70 truck had, and so that's been his problem, and that's why I think he's going to lose a couple more positions. Just like you said, he is going to start to fade back.
Yeah, and you know, another factor is we're 13 laps into this race, David Santini, remember now, he started 6th place. He was up to 2nd, or, you know, fighting for 2nd. He had to do a little bit of work, and I know that's only a handful of positions he gained, but remember the nature of this racetrack, a little bit difficult to pass. He had to do a pretty decent amount of work to get through those positions, Jacob. I'm wondering if he started to, wear off those tires a little bit more than he should have.
I think that is a big possibility. They have gone 14 laps, so just like you said, it's probably correct here that these tires are starting to wear down. You have to save them a lot, and even when you do that, you're probably thinking every 10 laps, that's going to be 10% off your tires, so they're probably at 90 or a little bit less now, venturing into the 89% tire wear for at least how much they've got left on the treads. So that's an interesting thing to point out there, just like you said. Yeah, just really burning up his tires a little too fast. That's why he was trying to push as much as possible with the 70 truck, but guess what? He didn't gain any time.
Yeah, he's not in terrible shape, though. You look at his lap times. He's running a 32.83, little bit quicker than Kenneth Mcculloch Jr., but definitely not as quick as Aaron Smith. That lap time, though, Kenneth Mcculloch Jr. was about a 10th quicker, and there you go. Kenneth on the bottom lane. Looks like he'll get 4th place, and I think he's got Derek Fulton in tow. And yes, that is beautiful paint scheme on that 94 truck, by the way.
Exactly, Derek Fulton coming up. Or race leaders able to make a pass. Will he be able to slide up into the position? Not just yet. He's going to go on to the apron.
A little further back, I think that's Scott Glaslow. And Scott Glaslow, he was looking to the middle of that group. It was Jake Hunchell, Marty Porter. Scott had some speed in that number 4 machine, lost it though, and you know what? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You don't want to be 4 wide too early on in the race now.
That is definitely true. You do not want to... Yeah, you don't want to risk having a damaged race truck at any time of this race, and that's, of course, going 4 wide to 3 wide. And so, yeah, he's just got to stay single file almost and make sure that, yes, of course, he can probably push it a couple of times 3 wide, but that's just being a little too dangerous here a little early. Yes, there is 100 laps, but we haven't even hit 50 to go.
Yeah, we have still got, I think I'm looking at it right now, we're going to have 80 to go in just a few moments. So these guys are racing, you know, like it's, like you said, 50, even 40 laps to go, and they're going at it. Nothing wrong with that, but they got to bear in mind they're going to lose tires, they're going to lose speed. Chad Ross, Hayes Booth going to be battling pretty soon. This will be the battle for about 15th place. Hayes Booth trying to close in on the back of that 38 machine. Now, I don't want to jinx it, but we've been green for 20 laps, Jacob. When do you think we see these guys come down pit lane? And how many pit stops do you think we'll see these guys taking tonight?
Let's see your 100-lap race. probably starting to see a little bit of wear right now. A lot of drivers, I think, are getting tighter and tighter, and so they're venturing on exit, almost hitting the wall, as I believe I saw Hayes Booth do exactly that, as he's getting passed by the 13 truck of Jason Hunshell. So if I had to guess, probably around maybe lap 30, 35, but that might be a little too early still.
Yeah, I'd want to say these guys are going to try and run a one-stop race, but I don't know if they can. Looks like Jake Hunshell, he's got a lot of damage on that O2 truck. He's going to have to come down pit lane. But I would call that an unscheduled pit stop for sure, as there is definitely an excessive amount of damage on that truck. Imagine he probably tagged the wall there, as we got one spinning on the backstretch. The 3 truck there, Josh, I can't pronounce that. I can't read that last name. I'm sorry, folks. Need new glasses. Josh Peak got into the Robert Vormwald there when he was spinning. Looks like, I think he might have made contact with the 24. Well, Vormwald gets into the wall here. Oh, and gets into Peak and then Peak back down. So that's how that plays out. An unfortunate situation unfolds for both those drivers. Well, that answers our pit stop question. And that pretty much guarantees this won't be a one-stop race, because they pit now, they won't be able to make it to the end on fuel. They don't pit now, then they're screwed on the restart due to the tire situation. So this is going to have to be at least a 2-stop race. Cars down pit lane, and we'll be right back. 1 lap to green as we get ready to go racing here on ASN. Should be a good race. Should be a good restart is what I should be saying. 25 out of 100 laps in. Well, Jacob, what do you expect to see on this restart?
Well, everybody has fresh tires, so that's going to be key. And, of course, yeah, Matthew Lee is leading on the restart, so he's going to be the control truck. Most likely he'll basically take off, and Peyton Howell will have to kind of defend for second place if he wants to keep it. And maybe, of course, trying to get on the inside line or just having a good run out of turn 1 and 2 to try and get the exit smooth.
All right, well, I'll let you get this restart here. They're working off of 4.
All right, well, the pace car is down and away. Just like that, Matthew Lee is off and away. We're back racing here in Kansas.
Yeah, great restart there for Matthew Lee, although I can say I'm surprised by that. That 04 truck is always fast, and doesn't matter if it's the restart, the start, or, 20 laps to go in the race, and they've been green for 50 laps. Looks like Marty Porter, though, got into the wall off of turn number 2, and look at that, Jacob. He is falling back like a stone. A significant, and I mean significant, amount of damage to that 21 Kesley truck. Kelsley.
Exactly, still falling back just a little bit. He finally was able to manage up a spot, I believe. Yeah, 26th place, the last truck on the lead lap, but he's got a ton of damage. I would suggest him deciding to try and pit this race truck, because with the way that these racers have been, of course, racing, they've been very aggressive. I think we'll still have another caution, and he'll probably be able to get his lap back if he were to pit now.
Yeah, and just watching Porter trying to hold on to any kind of speed he's got right now, he's going to, you mentioned caution and stuff, he's going to definitely need one if he wants that truck fixed and not lose a lap. Everyone else, that really messed up the restart, though, for a lot of drivers, because everyone had to scramble down the backstretch, and it spread everyone out pretty quick. David Lindahl, Christopher McKenneth, this will be for about 19th place. If McKenneth can get to the back of Lindahl, they're pretty close still back about midfield there.
They really are pretty close, closer to midfield. And basically, they're all in a line, though, but that's exactly what you kind of have to do. You cannot step out of line. Just like we said before, you need that extra speed that the race truck in front of you is able to give your truck. So that's very important here, in especially these early stages after a restart, to try and get your truck up to speed and even a little bit more.
And you see Christopher McKenneth to the back end of David Lindahl now. And the question is if that 19 has the speed to get by him. He's got Hayes Booth in tow. And it looks like Hayes Booth won't be in tow for much longer. Hayes says, hey, you know what? I want 20th and maybe even 19th if I can swing it. But he'll go to the inside of McKenneth there. He gives McKenneth the outside. I don't think that's the best idea right now because, again, that outside line, I still think you're going to get the better speed off the corner, as McKenneth does and holds on to the spot. Meanwhile, race leader still by about 0.3 of a second, Matthew Lee. But you have to give a lot of credit to Peyton Howell right now, Jacob. He is holding on by about 0.3 of a second.
Exactly. It's been very impressive. I think he's going to gain a little bit more time here, as they did start cross the start finish rate. Yeah, it goes down to 3.306 after it was up to 0.349. So a nice job there for him gaining a little bit of tension. That also helps because he's got a couple of trucks really helping that draft, helping him really catch Matthew Lee, and that's going to be key. You want to be there closer to the end, especially on these long runs. And it looks like Peyton Howell has been able to manage his tires almost perfectly.
Yeah, and Howell just trying to, like you said, manage his tires, manage his race. But the problem is that only goes so far because, yeah, it's a good strategy if you get a long run because there is always that potential, and we see it a lot, particularly in this series, of green-white checker finishes, and that means, or, you know, a caution maybe with 15 laps to go, everyone pits. That means no long run, and that means managing your tires. Well, that goes right out the window, because when you restart with 10 laps to go, the name of the game is just go, 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 go. Doesn't matter how you save it at that point. If you have like a 40-lap run at the end, then yeah, you got to save. But Peyton Howell has got to be good on the short run too.
That's definitely true indeed. I think right now you don't necessarily need to be that great on the short run, considering he's gotten good pit stops, and that's the whole reason why he's still in that top 3. And he's got speed right now too. It's not like he's very slow. So yeah, he's just saving up his tires just a little bit, but at the same time still trying to push as much as possible. But now, of course, we got a new third-place driver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, new third-place driver. That is Kenneth McCulloch Jr., and we talked about him earlier tonight, Jacob. Up and down season. Right now, it is looking up. Let's talk about that 0-3 team. Right now in the standings, 5th place. Not bad place to sit in. He averages, though, a 16th place finish. The last 3 races. Actually, we'll go to the last 4 races. I like even numbers. 24th at Richmond, 32nd at Talladega, 15th at Dover, and 17th at Martinsville. You have to go all the way back to April 6th, in fact, to have a top 5 finish, or top 10 finish. That was 7th place at Bristol. And you have to go all the way back to late March to have a top 5 finish, 3rd place at Texas. What I'm getting at, Kenneth McCulloch Jr., he needs a good race. It's been a little while since he's had a good race. Been about 4 weeks, been almost a month since he's had a good race. I think he deserves it tonight, and I tell you what, the way he's racing as we're closing in on the halfway mark, I think he's got a good race in the cards. Definitely a top 5 truck, and if he swings it right, it might even be a race-winning truck. He has not won yet this season, although he has had 4 top 10s.
Exactly. Right as you said that, was able to squeeze Peyton Howell wanted to go on the inside and trying to squeeze him, but he was able to kind of get a little bit higher and take that 2nd place away from the 46th truck of Peyton Howell. So just like that, Kenneth McCulloch Jr. in 2nd position. He does have the outside line at the moment, so he's going to get the better exit off of turns 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, excuse me.
And you want to know something else interesting there? Peyton Howell, why do I keep saying Marty Porter? I really don't know, and I'm sorry for that, folks. Marty Porter's a great driver, though, and he's a little bit further back in the field. We'll touch on him in a moment. But Peyton Howell and Kenneth McCulloch Jr., they both had the last top 5 finish, where Kenneth finished 3rd and Peyton finished 4th, respectively, at the same racetrack, at Texas Motor Speedway, late March. But in the last few weeks, Peyton finished 33rd at Bristol, 26th at Richmond, and 13th at Dover, 18th at Martinsville. Another driver right there who needs a good run. He's had 2 top 10s this season, an average finish of 22nd. But I tell you what, he started on pole here tonight, and so far, and knock on wood, and I'm sure, you know, he's probably praying to whatever higher power he believes in throughout the entire course of this race so far, he's not fallen outside of the top 5, I don't think, except maybe on the pit stop. So this guy's got a great truck, and we're 10 laps away from halfway. He's got a top 5 truck, and again, it might even be a race-winning truck from how we saw him hold on to 2nd place if he can kind of get that short-run speed figured out.
Most definitely, for sure, as he does fall back to 5th position. Aaron Smith passes him back for 4th. Now, that's going to be interesting. Just like you said, did he run his tires out just a little too hard? And that's exactly why he fell back to 5th, or what's the case there. But either way, yeah, looking pretty good. Still in that top 5 position. And, of course, yeah, just getting some cautions and learning that he's got to be, if we do have another caution or a couple more, that he will learn quicker and quicker, that he just has to push his race truck and not necessarily care about how bad the tires are going to feel halfway through a run.
Yeah, and you know, I'm inclined to say yes, he did burn off his tires, because you notice for the beginning portion of that run, I'd say maybe the first 10 laps, he was trying to hang with Matthew Lee there, and I think that's what bit him, and that's why we're seeing him in 5th place and not 3rd place right now. There's no doubt about it. That is a top 3 truck, but I think he did use up those tires a little bit too much, that 46 team. Looks like Aaron Smith getting by one of the lap trucks. That is the 10 machine, Robert Vermwald, and yeah, he is 8 laps down. And man, you gotta feel bad for him. He was caught up in that first caution tonight, right on lap 20.
Exactly. Smith having that long run truck, that's why he's back up here in 4th position and gaining time right back to Derek Fulton. Now, of course, he's just about 2/10 off of Fulton, which isn't too far away, but also another thing to touch up on for your race leader, Matthew Lee has gotten away to a 2nd lead over at least everybody.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that. We see the speed out of that 04 truck. We see it week in, week out, really. And when you put him in clean air and especially on a racetrack that he's good at, I mean, you know, there's no stopping him. I'm not surprised to see him pull away, but I think that as this race runs on, and especially later on tonight, we'll see some of these guys kind of figure out his line, as it always tends to happen. And that lead, maybe with 20 laps to go, instead of a 1 second lead, or a 1.1 second lead, it'll probably be a half a second lead. And then when you get 5 laps to go, if you get that late race restart, well, then he might be in trouble for that race lead in general. Kenneth McCulloch Jr., though, put in on a great race. How about Derek Fulton, too? Another great race for another driver. Eli Warren, Brad Botto. I mean, hey, we could run down a list here of drivers having a career night or a season night here at Kansas, and this has proven to be a great race. Look at Todd Keene right there, that 18 machine. We don't talk about him all that much, but he's having a good run. Chad Ross as well, Jesse Thornock. And let's focus on, how about Jim Westerfield, that 35 truck. Looks like him and Jesse in a great battle for 11th place, Jacob.
Exactly, a fantastic battle for 11th, just like you said. Yeah, 3 trucks right here. He's going to just about be able to clear him, but instead has to give up some room here. That's going to be interesting. Has the bottom line, the exit speed, just like you said before, and Westerfield won't be able to clear him just yet. Look at that speed from Thornock, I believe.
Yeah, Thornock on the outside there, that all-silver 42 machine. He's ran that truck all season. I'm glad he has, because I love looking at it. Don't get me wrong, it is a plain paint scheme, but you know what? It's good, because it's chrome, and chrome is always beautiful. You can never go wrong with it, you know?
I'd have to agree with that for sure. Yeah, that chrome paint scheme always looks good on race trucks and race cars for sure. And that was basically just a great thing that iRacing implemented, I believe, 2 builds ago.
Yeah, 2 builds ago we got the spec maps. Let's talk about Jim Westerfield, though, for a moment. He's in a redemption run here tonight, because last week at Charlotte, 2 weeks ago at Charlotte, I forgot we had that 2-week off week, he had a really bad run. He had bad luck, because he finished 34th. He only completed 3 laps of that race, got involved in a very early race incident. So looking for a good run here tonight. And I tell you what, right now, top 10 run, not going to be bad night. So far this season, he's had 2 top 10s. One of them came at Martinsville, which is a great track to have a top 10 at, because it is such a difficult racetrack to have a top 10 at. His other top 10 this season, that came at Talladega. So one thing I noticed, he seems to like the tricky tracks. It's hard to have a top 10 at Super Speedway. It's hard to have a top 10 at one of these, at one of those short tracks. Kansas, well, it's not a super speedway, it's not a short track, but in its own right, I'd say it's a bit of a difficult racetrack, because you have that progressive banking, and the line is constantly changing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if that 35 sneaks his way into a top 10 finish. Down pit lane right now, and the 15 machine, Austin Goen. Well, he was going in a little hot and overshot his pit box. So that'll cost him some time on pit lane. 51, there's the halfway mark.
Exactly, and yes, that is about the correct time for drivers to start to come down pit lane, so we might see...
Looks like everyone down. I see Derek Fulton, Jay Dargent. I think Matthew Lee as well. Yes, it is.
And that's pretty interesting, so I think that's what we can kind of expect to see are a lot of, just a run of about 20 laps, and then you go down pit lane. So, yeah, we might see a couple more pit stops if, of course, we do stay green.
Yeah, probably about, 48 laps to go, so 2 more pit stops? Something to that effect. Now, something interesting, I'm looking back in our Facebook chat. Again, if you're watching on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, so you can check out the stream on both platforms. Pick your favorite. Either way, you get to watch some great racing. Peyton Howell, Jacob, I think gets the title of youngest driver in the field. He's only 14. So he is A, really good, and B, has time to get even better. That 40-16.
He definitely has plenty of time to get incredibly better. I mean, yeah, that is very impressive. Didn't expect to hear that he was 14 years of age. He gets the pole position. He's been in the top 5 for most of, not only this race, but throughout the season, basically. He's had a lot of great finishes, and yeah, looking forward to see what he can produce, especially later on in the season when it really gets to, you got to be as consistent as can be closer to the end of the season. But yeah, for sure, starting off, he's only just going to get better and better and better.
Yeah, and you know what? That's great to see, though, when you got a driver young like that, because A, it shows, younger fans interested in motorsports, which we need because motorsports is one of the less popular sports in America, so it's always good to have interest from younger crowd because, future generations of the sport, future fans keeps things going. And B, future interest in iRacing, right there, that's a lifelong customer and means iRacing gets to stick around, so it's good from a business side of things. Anyway, Brad Bothwell, Chad Ross, a little bit of a distance between those guys, about a second. But behind that, Jesse Thornock, Todd Keene. We talked about Todd Keene a few moments ago.
Exactly. A nice job by Todd Keene. He's up into at least 10th place.
I want to point out, we also have Hayes Booth, apparently also, according to Lori Bennett Booth, also 14. So another shout out to another one of the younger drivers in the field. So few of those guys, and they really know how to drive. Hayes Booth, top 10 run here tonight, I think. He's been hovering around top 10, top 15, so, keep at it. Maybe they'll get to the Pro Series one day. That would be interesting.
Exactly. It's impressive, too, and what I can tell, he also does have a license of 4.2, and that's for Peyton Howell.
4.2 A license? Wow.
4.2 A license, yes, and the strength of field is 2.2 thousand as well. So he's got at least close, if not 2,000 I rating already. So you can already tell he is pretty skilled considering at 14 years old. For me, I was having a difficult time getting out of the D class. So yeah, exactly, having a lot of skill and they're having a chance at win here tonight.
Man, my safety rating's still only like 2.3, so that just makes me feel like a bad driver, honestly. Well, that's why I'm announcing and not racing. 60 laps into this race, and we, like I said, we just got some incredible talent out here of all ages. Matthew Lee, your race leader, and we're not surprised by that. Matthew Lee running out there. I mean, 50 laps led. He has literally led now at this point half the race. If you're going to bet on anyone to win here tonight, who are you going to pick? Other than Matthew Lee, because that's the obvious pick.
Exactly. I think because the way that this race has gone, we've already had one green flag pit stop, considering one of pit stop where we had to go down during caution. I would say Kenneth McCulloch Jr., he's in second position. He's less than a second behind Matthew Lee, and that's after all the pit stops had already gone. So, yeah, if he plays his cards right, I think he'll probably be able to take this win away from Matthew Lee. It might take a late race caution, but there's a good chance that will happen.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick right there. Kenneth McCulloch Jr., also another driver just kind of, waiting in the wings right there. A little bit further back. Now, not to keep, plugging, or not to make this the all Peyton Howell show, because I know we've been talking about him a lot, but again, an incredible drive from him. Ricky Howell Jr. in the chat saying, Peyton, check him out on his page, Peyton Howell Racing, which we encourage everyone to do because he does race in real life and support all drivers in all divisions. He got his first win at a NASCAR sanctioned track at 13 years old. That is awesome right there. And again, a future star of the sport. And once again, making me feel like I can't race. That's a joke there, don't worry. But really, that's awesome to see, though. Congratulations to him, and I hope his racing career goes far. Matthew Lee, Kenneth McCulloch Jr., Aaron Smith, and Aaron Smith side by side for the race lead.
Very impressive from Aaron Smith here, trying to actually take second place away from Kenneth McCulloch Jr., but he is getting a lot of speed. And yeah, he's right on the back bumper of the 03 truck. Of course, Kenneth McCulloch Jr., this is going to be interesting. Does he decide to go on the inside? Yes, he does. He chooses the inside lane, but he will be able to slide up and make the exit work for him. And he almost was able to get enough speed to do the reverse, but other than that, will stay behind the 03.
Yeah, that 03 machine. Kenneth McCulloch Jr. has been running a great race tonight. We've been talking about him a lot, and he's my pick to win this race just because I feel like if something happened, I feel like when you're the dominant car all night, yeah, you have a great chance to win, but something always comes to bite you in the final 10 laps, and I just got a feeling we're going to see that 03 car get that first win of the evening. Brad Bothwell in the top 5 as well, having a great run.
Exactly, a nice job for him. Yeah, Bothwell in that top 5 position, 5th place right now. He's got a little bit of ground to catch up, sure, but I mean, he's in a good spot just in case the caution does come out, that he's right there to try and will attack with Peyton Howell and Aaron Smith and all of that. So he sits in 5th position. As long as he gets by these lap trucks, fine, I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, we got one truck slow on the apron there. That is the 19 of Christopher McKenniff. I think he did just pit. Yes, no, he didn't. So I don't know why he's slow there down on the bottom lane. Something not 100% right on that 19 truck. Kenneth McCulloch Jr., Peyton Howell trying to catch each other. Or Peyton trying to catch Kenneth. David Santini doing a good job. Eli Warren Brad Bothwell trying to get by Todd Keene there. Or rather, Todd Keene getting by Bothwell. Good pass by Todd Keene. He's having a season best night, I believe.
Exactly, a nice job there for sure by none other than Todd Keene, able to get that position 1. Now, of course, that's going to help him out because now he's got that clean air once again in front. And now Brad Bothwell will have to just basically stick behind him and make sure that he could probably do exactly the same thing. But it looks like Bothwell is slowed up just a tiny bit, as in, of course, maybe fading back a little bit because Eli Warren has caught up to him and has an opportunity and maybe a couple of laps to pass Brad Bothwell for that 7th position.
Yeah, and we'll see how that plays out. Look a little, and, you know, watching this battle right now. So it is some pretty good racing here all around. Even after the pit stops, you know, usually these guys get a little too spread out, but not right now. These guys are staying close enough together, you know.
Exactly, and I mean, that's what's making great racing at Kansas Motor Speedway. I mean, we talked about it with the Cup cars, and now we're coming back here with the trucks, and it has been very impressive, and they've still been really close together, even though their tires, well, we're coming up on lap 71 once again, or lap 72 just about, and they're starting to go away for sure because we pitted just about at lap 51. So they're going about another 20 laps, and it's almost about time for another pit stop. But these drivers might try and stretch it until lap 80 to make it basically their final stop of the night.
Yeah, I was about to say, if they can stretch it 9 more laps, it will be their last pit stop of the race, and that's going to be the hard thing for them to do, but not impossible. And I'd be inclined to imagine that maybe a few drivers were planning on that. So maybe a few drivers, they pitted a little bit later. Maybe they've been running a little bit more conservatively. But I just can't imagine someone pitting and not thinking, well, if I pit now, I can make it into, you know, only 1 more stop needed as opposed to 2. I wouldn't imagine these guys wanting to make 2 more pit stops in this race because, you know, it would kill their chance to win unless there's a caution.
Exactly. That's the only way that more stops would really work out. And even if I say that we get a caution and it's about laps, I mean, it's closer to lap 75 anyway, but if we get a caution, they do take 2 tires at about that first, or all 4 tires about that first lap that they're under caution. So that would be about lap number 75, I guess, if the caution were to come out now. Point being, yeah, they would be able to save 2 more at least 2 more laps because they're under caution, and then, yeah, they can basically push as much as they can for that last stint. So there's a good opportunity that these drivers, yeah, trying to make it for that last stop, even if there were a caution.
75 out of 100 laps in, 25 to go. If you're Matthew Lee right now, when do you go down pit lane, Jacob?
If I'm Matthew Lee, yeah, I definitely would try and maybe even stretch it a little bit further to lap 80. Yeah, around lap 80, 81, maybe 82 to 85. And of course, that would allow me, even at lap 85, you got about close to 15 laps to go. Look at a couple of drivers going down pit lane now, so maybe a little bit closer to 80 laps is probably what's going to happen. But for sure, you're giving yourself an opportunity to only run 20 laps on 1 set of tires, and that's going to basically say, I don't have to worry about it, I'm going to be okay, so that's going to be good.
And you see Matthew Lee, he'll hit the pits. I think he'll be one of the first. Well, he won't be one of the first, which is good, but 25 laps to go. Can they go the distance? That's going to be the next question. Can they go the distance without a pit stop? What do you think?
Well, I think they will have to go the distance without a pit stop for sure. The tires might feel terrible, but if a lot of drivers, especially on the lead lap right now, haven't pitted yet, then you're thinking that those drivers will have 5 to closer to 10 laps fresher tires. So they won't pit unless, of course, a caution. So, yeah, they're going to definitely have to make it on this last stop.
78 out of 100 laps in. David Santini, your race leader. Imagine if we got a caution right now. That would probably be the biggest break of Santini's season here.
I'd have to agree on that. I mean, I wouldn't say it's his season, but make or break for this race, most definitely. And yeah, he needs a great finish indeed, but David Santini, he's been up there. I think he knows exactly what he's doing when he decided to pit, and so it's all about just staying focused, and now he's just got to hit his marks.
Yeah, it'll be, and it looks like Santini here, I think out of anyone, I want to say Santini's on the best strategy because he's trying to probably push it to 20 laps to go. Thus kind of guaranteeing, you know, I can go the distance.
Exactly, and he's about to hit it. It's not like a couple of these drivers, I would say, likes of Peyton Howell and even, well, our leader Matthew Lee. Yeah, he decided to pit not long ago, so I'm saying probably closer, the drivers who pitted close to lap like maybe 77 to have a good opportunity to make it to the end and not necessarily have to worry too much about their tires and how it feels. But yeah, like you said, David Santini is still out there, not losing too much time. So yeah, and he's got most of the field a lap down.
The entire
field. Robertson.
The entire field now a lap down. If there was a caution right now, everyone would have to take the wave around. David Santini would come out the leader, even pitting. Man, he's got to be hoping for a caution. Again, you want to talk about the biggest break he could get right now? Well, there it is if he gets a yellow, and that's probably what he's waiting on.
Exactly, and that would stink if that's is what strategy can come down to. You talked about it. We noticed him kind of fading away at the start of this race, not necessarily pushing his race truck too much, and I think that's exactly why he knows exactly what he has to do. Now, look at the field, though. They are catching up to and trying to unlap themselves.
Yeah, I mean, of course they're catching up to him. I mean, he's on, what, at least 20-lap old tires compared to them? They're gonna catch him, and they're gonna go by him in, I mean, the blink of an eye. There's no question about that. Matthew Lee unlaps himself, and the rest of them are going to go by in about 0.3 of a second. Santini, though, trying to stay out. Can he go the distance? Is that why? No, he can't. That's impossible.
I don't think he'll be able to go the distance for sure. He's the next lap or so, really, to make this strategy even have an opportunity since everybody's already unlapping themselves. Give yourself enough time to have a chance to get back to the lead, and that's going to be perfect because with about 15 laps, you can really start to push, and that's going to be key.
Yeah, best thing he could do now is pit and then hope everyone else has to pit one more time. I mean, that's kind of the strategy he's committed himself to, you know?
But yeah, exactly. He decided to use this strategy, and it's going to be key for him to make sure that, yeah, he does it correctly.
$15 laps to go. David Santini, so far only 2 drivers have managed to unlap themselves. They've got to gain, 28 seconds, but, once Santini pits, they'll be able to. David Santini, there he is, down pit lane, 27 seconds to Matthew Lee. The question is, how much ground do you think he loses? He's going to lose the lead, but by how much?
Exactly, that's going to be key. He's got over a 27-second gap to Matthew Lee. At least he did before. And already Hayes Booth has passed him. Now coming back up, it looks like he's probably going to go shuffle down to maybe 6th position.
Yeah, that seems about reasonable. And, you know, or maybe only 4th? Now Peyton Howell gets by him, and you're probably right with 6th. A little bit further back. Wow, a lot further back. 11th place and still dropping.
Exactly.
Looks like a level out around 12th.
A huge group of drivers just passed him right out of the blue. So he's going to be closer to the last car on the lead lap than anything. So that was a huge gamble. He needed that caution to happen, and it didn't. So now he's just got to push as much as possible because, well, he's got the fresher tires.
Well, he's still got one gamble going, and that's that everyone else still needs to pit. Because now he can go to the end. There's no question about it with only 13 laps to go. So the next gamble is, does everyone else pit? Meanwhile, Matthew Lee has a lead of about a full second on Aaron Smith. So with 13 laps to go, what do you think we see happening here, Jacob?
It's just going to be a case of he's got to push as much as possible. I think these drivers will try and stay out and push it just like the 99 truck did of David Santini. I think that's their only reasonable way to stretch it. We've seen some crazy finishes before in this league. I believe Las Vegas was one of them, where a couple of drivers, I believe, ran out of fuel. So we've seen that before. And maybe somebody's tires will go down, but I think they probably have plenty of fuel, so we won't see that. It's just all about who has the fresher tires and who will be able to really make it in the end with that type of speed.
Well, 10 laps to go. We'll see how it all plays out here. And that lead is it's not growing and it's not shrinking. It's staying about consistent. So if Lee tags the wall, potentially there's a new race leader and Aaron Smith gets his first win. So there's a potential right there, you know?
Exactly, a big potential for sure. Yeah, Matthew Lee is going to try his hardest not to do exactly that. And, of course, Aaron Smith is going to have to push as much as possible. He's got that long run race truck. We did see it in that last run. So it will be key if he is able to kind of close that gap up just a bit. He's been right there. We talked about it at the start of the race. And, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a massive victory if he can pull this off. But at the same time, same deal with Matthew Lee. I think it's going to come down to who has the better tires at the end of this race because, yeah, we're only 93 laps into, or just about 93 laps into this one. Yes, it is a 100-lap race, but that makes you think there's still plenty of racing left.
Yeah, 7 laps to go right now. Barely any racing left unless we get that green-white checker finish. And again, we do have a lot of those recently, so I wouldn't be surprised here.
Exactly, a late race caution will change everything, but just the way that the field looks right now, I think the closest that we would have to anything happening like that is the battle for 9th position where Brad Bothwell is. It's about a 4-car race, right, a 4-truck race right in the middle of that, as well as I believe that is maybe coming into the picture to try and close that gap as well. That's the only way that I would see probably those drivers maybe making a little bit of contact as we're just about to have a 3-wide race, I believe, with David Santini.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that one. We'll take a look at it. And yeah, we did for a moment. Brad Bothwell, he's falling back a little bit like a stone there. He's got a little bit of an issue.
We saw that happen earlier in that last run too, where I think it's just, I mean, he was the earlier of pit stops, so I'm not shocked that his tires are starting to wear out and he didn't decide to save a little bit more than he should have. So yeah, that's a tough break for Bothwell, of course, but he's just got to push through it and make sure that he can maybe make it to the end, because I don't think these drivers want to pit.
Yeah, I don't think they want to pit either right there. Only 4 more laps to go. I mean, imagine if you're Matthew Lee right now and you realize you got to pit and you're going to have 3 to go at the stripe now. I mean, that would be absolutely devastating. But he is 3 laps away from what is going to be 8 wins of the season. I want to point out this season, Jacob, we are on what I think race number 14. So 8 out of 14 races this driver will have potentially won. That's more than half of the races.
And the most interesting part all about that was, remember, he went on a bit of a winning streak. I think he got close. He won 3, maybe 4 straight. He got close to winning, I think, 6 straight.
3 in a row is what it was. From Homestead to Bristol. And then he won Talladega, Phoenix.
Absolutely an impressive run so far in this season, and it's proven that he will probably get it done once again. Yeah, just 3 straight races in a row and then winning 6, that's almost unheard of.
Yeah, and I was 1 off in the number. He has 6 wins this season, so this will be win number 7 in race number 14. That'll give him half the races of the season won. At any rate, half won, more than half, that's still an incredible win ratio. There you go, win number 7, Matthew Lee takes it on home. Aaron Smith, Kenneth McCulloch Jr., Peyton Howell, 4th place. You know, started on pole, 4th place finish. Great finish for Peyton Howell. David Santini, and I want to point out again, the same rate, you know, you go back to March. David Santini, was it we were talking about him earlier, where he finished 3rd, and then Peyton Howell finished 4th, or no, Kenneth McCulloch Jr. finished 3rd, and Peyton Howell finished 4th. At Texas, well, guess what, Jacob? Look at the finishing order and tell me something similar.
Exactly, I believe Kenneth McCulloch Jr. finishes 4th, and Peyton Howell finished his 5th.
No.
Yeah,
Third
Peyton
place
Howell
for,
finished 4th.
For
Kenneth McCulloch Jr. finishes 3rd, yes.
So identical to Texas, both drivers get another top 5 finish, and they finish in the exact same order. How about that for an interesting turn of events? Rest of your finishers, David Santini, Eli Warren, Thornock, and Todd Keene. Rest of them going across the top of your screen. But man, what a race for Matthew Lee. I mean, more than half the laps led, and on top of that, now winning half of the races this season. I mean, you got to think that's just nothing short of incredible there. And we'll go down to that general channel and talk to Matthew Lee. Matthew Lee, have you got a copy on us?
Got you, guys.
All right, well, congratulations on the win. You win now 7 races this season out of the 14 races we've ran. That gives you half of the wins in 2020, so how about that?
Pretty crazy.
Now, how did that truck handle for you tonight, leading 80 laps?
It was tight. It was really, really tight, but it seems like I figured it out a little better than the other guys. And once we got out front there, I was just kind of pitted when they did, managed to just keep the lead.
All right. Well, any sponsors you want to thank, man?
Yeah, I got to thank Jeff over at FEG. Thank you guys for putting on another good broadcast for us. Got to thank my teammate Derek Felton. He had a tough break tonight, but Fulton, I mean, sorry, he had a tough break tonight with the penalty, so that sucks. But on to the next week.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us, man. And Jacob Young now with Aaron Smith.
All right, Aaron Smith, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Happy with the P2.
Yeah, exactly. A second place finish. Of course, beating Matthew Lee. He was outstanding tonight, but take us through, of course, what you had to do on that final in there.
Well, I tried to get the jump on him with those late race pit stops. I thought I had a pretty good shot at him, but after the tires started wearing out and stuff like that happened, started to fall back a bit. And then I hit the wall with 2 to go, which wasn't ideal, but we were able to.
All right, how's that truck handling for you?
Well, it was pretty tight for the whole race. I wasn't really much of a fan of the set after the tires started to wear, but it brought up some pretty good racing, so don't really have much to complain about there. But
All right. And of course, I believe you guys head over to Michigan next week, so are you pumped about that?
I've never been too good at Michigan, but we'll see what we can do. Finishing P2 with only this session's worth of practice is it's a pretty good confidence boost. So we'll see what we can.
All right. Before I let you go, any sponsors or anybody that you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank everyone at FEG for putting this on, and everyone for putting on a pretty clean race. We had only 1 caution, which is pretty nice, and y'all for broadcast.
All right. Well, congratulations on a good point stay in P2, and hopefully we get to talk to you next week.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right, and last up on the interview block, do we have him in here? Kenneth Mcculloch Jr., if you got a copy on me.
Yes, sir.
All right, man, how'd that car run for you tonight?
Pretty good. I didn't figure out 1 and 2 there to that last run. Really feel like I had something for Matthew. Kind of feel like everybody's tired of seeing him win. I know I definitely am.
All right, well, how'd that car handle for you?
It handled pretty good. It's just tight, pretty much like everybody else. I get under the wall there at one point and got a little bit of damage, and it had me slowed up a little bit.
All right, well, any sponsors you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Jeff for putting this thing on and y'all for doing the broadcast. Y'all do a hell of a job.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, man. And from all of us at the American Sim Network, we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. We'll see you all in the next one.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good win there, Matt.